right, unlimited talk and data. Don't miss out on getting your family plan with Flow today. Visit discoverflow.ky/family for details. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Flow Cayman Islands. Terms and conditions apply. Flow, you deserve the best.
There are few things in Cayman that are as iconic as the 2 for $6 deal at Burger King, with the possible exception of our wonderful marine life. Well, possible exception no more. The Big Fish Sandwich has just joined the other stars of 2 for $6. You heard right. Choose from the iconic Whopper, Crispy Chicken Sandwich, Spicy Crispy Chicken Sandwich, and now the Big Fish. And get 2 sandwiches for just $6. Hurry, for a limited time only. Available at Burger King 7 Mile Beach, Waterfront, Walker's Road, and Red Bank.
Live from Star 927 Studios in the center of Cayman's capital city, Georgetown. This is Straight Talk with Ruth Anna.
Good evening, everybody. You are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young. Always honored to be your host here on Straight Talk every Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:01 p.m. on the Star 92.7 clock, and it is the 22nd of July. Welcome back, everybody. It is Wednesday. I cannot believe it is kind of halfway-ish through the week already. I'm joined by the team of the Red Cross. I see Cindy has joined us. She's she's trying to make a transition, it seems. Welcome, Cindy, and Miss Carolina. Welcome back as per usual. You'll get to say hey to them in just a second. 943-3700 in studio. You can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565, and you can email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. And we are also streaming live video from the Star 92.7 Facebook page. And I see Mr. Eckerd Macfield tuned in via Facebook. He said, we are in here. Now, welcome. Thank you to all those who are tuned in via radio or Facebook. I appreciate you for tuning in each and every afternoon. And this afternoon, the members of the Red Cross are joining me to talk about something we haven't had the opportunity. I think it's a first time initiative. It is their mobile health and wellness checks for children and teens. And so we're going to find out what that is, who's it for, how do we, if you are someone who would like one of the health checks, or you are someone you know, how do you make that happen? So we're going to talk about all of that this afternoon and do a little bit of catching up as well, of course. Now, you guys know the deal. Before we go any further into our conversation, we always start our time here on Straight Talk with the reading of today's Daily Bread. So today's Daily Bread is entitled A Wide Sweeping Grace, and the scripture comes from Isaiah 44, verse 22, and reads, I have swept away your offenses. Alexa, Amazon's voice-controlled device, has an interesting feature. It can erase everything you say. Whatever you've asked Alexa to do, whatever information you've asked Alexa to retrieve, one simple sentence, delete everything I said today, sweeps it all clean as if it never happened. It's too bad that the rest of our life doesn't have this capability. Every misspoken word, even disgraceful act, every moment we wish we could erase, we'd just speak the command and the entire mess would disappear. There's good news though. God does offer each of us a clean start. Only he goes far deeper than merely deleting our mistakes or bad behavior. God provides redemption, a deep healing that transforms us and makes us new. Return to me, he says. I have redeemed you. Even though Israel rebelled and disobeyed, God reached out to them with lavish mercy. He swept away their offenses like a cloud, their sins like the morning mist. He gathered all their shame and failures and washed them away with his wide, sweeping grace. God will do the same with our sin and blunders. There's no mistake he can't mend, no wound he can't heal. God's mercy heals and redeems the most painful places in our soul, even the ones we've hidden for so very long. His mercy sweeps away all our guilt, washes away every regret. Thanks be to God for that word today. As always, here on Straight Talk, we remind you, we encourage you to spend time each and every day focused on his word, meditating on his grace and how awesome he is. With that, I invite both Cindy and Carolina into our conversation this afternoon. Now, before we start to talk about the mobile health checks, this is the first opportunity I'll get to catch up with you both since we have stepped into the twilight zone known as coronavirus or COVID-19, whichever name you choose. The last few months have been a hopefully once in a lifetime event. So I wanted the opportunity to do a quick check in. Cindy, how have you been through this time? What have you been up to over the last couple months?
Well, thank you for having me on here, and very nice to see everybody. What have I been up to? It feels like everything and nothing.
You know what? That statement makes so much sense. To be very honest, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm glad. Yeah, because it's there's so much going on, and you can only do so much, and then you're so busy trying to keep ahead of everything that you just really feel like you got nothing done.
I feel you got it. Perfect summary. How about you, Carolina? How have you been and what have you been up to?
Yeah, I don't know if I can take such big questions right off bat, Ruthana.
I mean, we gotta start somewhere.
Such complicated questions, like how have you been and how are things going?
You just say fine.
Let's
We're
just
just
say what
fine.
day of the week is it? Let's make sure we get the day of the week correct. So, it's Wednesday. We can start with that small question, then we can proceed to how are you? What have you been up
Yes,
to?
exactly. Yeah, I think it's like on the days that I get the days of the week and the day of the month correct. It's like I'm having, and it's what everyone is doing, right? And it's one of those things that actually I did a webinar talking about children specifically, but also and just like one of the examples that the presenter talked about was the parts of our brain that are in this sort of survival mode that that have been constantly on since the start of the pandemic. They haven't shut off yet. So if you'll see that there's certain things that are sort of escaping you, like for instance, if you're dealing with like memory things and you can't remember other things because that like that's not what's important right now. Right now you're still in survival mode and your brain is just kind of waiting, as you and I were kidding about before, for the zombies to come. And then it's just like, and you just kind of, so
something.
yeah, so it's, so it's one of those things. And it's just like, so much like what Cindy said, I feel like you've been up to everything, but then you're looking back and it's just like that sense that what have you in fact accomplished and stuff. So it's a very strange thing to feel so tired. And simultaneously feel as if you have so little to show for it, So.
I agree with you, and I think that most, if not everyone listening this afternoon or watching, to some degree understands what we all are feeling. Because I think there's certain through this times, I think we all have certain shared commonalities that we are experiencing, emotionally, psychologically, just all of it, and it has been very strange times indeed. There's silver linings to everything. Now, it might just be me, but I feel like there've been a lot of we're pregnant announcements that have come out during this time. So I've seen a number of friends on Facebook have said, "Ta-da! Guess what happened during COVID?" So there's new life being born out of all of this. So that's exciting, and there I think it's also presented opportunities for. I know I've talked to a few people who've wanted to make like career pivots, for example, and didn't do so at any earlier point. And now all they had was time, and have finally found the opportunities to pivot in their careers and stuff. So there are silver linings to all of this, but I certainly won't be surprised if Godzilla or a spaceship appears at this point. So, in light of that, the Red Cross, I'm sure you guys have like what, and I have to ask like before we go into the conversation around the mobile wellness checks during a time like this, because we think of Red Cross when it comes to hurricanes, maybe fires, when families experience fires and that kind of devastation. But Red Cross, I would imagine, is very much engaged during a time like this as well. What is a time like this for the the entire organization. What does that look like for you guys during a time like this?
Well, I mean, this is still a crisis, right? So this is what we do is that we work in times of peace to prepare and respond to crisis, and then during the crisis we still respond, right? So there's no end to it. So we're just like you prepare for the crisis, and the crisis comes, and you keep going. But what it's meant for us, for COVID specifically, has been we obviously, with all of the isolation and social distancing and, sort of the staying at home orders and whatnot, we had to take what was a very social, very human based kind of thing with volunteer training and preparations and whatnot, and figure out a way in which, because you still have a community that wants to assist, you have a community that wants to respond, and you still have to prepare them. Except now you can't get people together in a room to be able to do so. So we actually had to move our entire volunteer recruitment, training, and deployment system online. So and we were actually in charge of the national COVID-19 volunteer response. So it wasn't just Red Cross volunteers, but pretty much volunteers from other agencies who were willing to come on board, people who had never volunteered before, who wanted to see what they could do. So we created that entire system where it is that we allowed people to first put forward their names, and then actually do an online training, and then, do all of the things where you're signing up, the terms of agreement and everything else, and then being deployed. And our volunteers were there to help at the airports when there were the evacuation flights were arriving, at the isolation facilities as well, in the emergency travel line. So, so it's like, so there was all of that was happening in the background. And then the biggest thing that I know people know that we were doing was, again, kind of managing the whole volunteers who could only stay home, who could assist with the mask making for frontline staff, because that was a main concern right at the start, which was how do you protect the people who are there to help everybody else when there's a global shortage on personal protective equipment, So it's just like, yeah. So just in terms of and trying to figure out, it's all the things that you don't think about, right? Because you think about you're going to sew a mask, and you're like, okay, I'll go to the store, I'll get what I need, I'll bring it home, I'll get it done, and I'll turn it out. It's like, wait, the store is closed. You may not. So then it became this whole process of, we need to find, the materials. We need to get the permissions for these people to be able to come and get the materials. We then need to have all of those materials cut into smaller pieces so that different people can do certain amounts. Now, a lot of these people are elderly and vulnerable, and therefore you can't give them COVID. So now we need to partner with somebody like Island Cleaners, who was the best, who to then sanitize all of those materials, pack them, and create things. And then we need to figure out a way to drop it to these volunteers along with the instructions. And then we can't really pick them up. So now they're dropping the made masks back over to Island Cleaners so that they can be sanitized, so that when our frontline workers get them, they're good to go, and you can put them on your face and not have to worry about anything. So something as simple as making a mask becomes this sort of circus. Yeah. So, and we did that as well. We did some stuff for kids specifically because we were very concerned that some of the messages that were going out there were very sort of focused for adults, and that there wasn't a lot of explanation that was happening for kids. So, with Ben and Mari's help, and Bobo and TD, there was the hand washing song that came out.
Ask.
Yeah, no, the hand washing song. The hand washing song is really good. And it's just like, when the parent comes on, like all the parents lose their mind, because it's just like. So there was, so we got quite a number of things that were done, other than being, part of the National Emergency Operations Center, and being, with that, and creating documents and proposals and all of the other stuff. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind.
I can imagine. And can I tell you, right now, I know you guys created the hand washing song for kids, but I found myself like, whether it was like my sister or my spouse, and I'm like, no, you're not getting it right. You have to wash your individual fingers. Like, did you watch the video? Like, where were you when the video were playing? And so listen, that video was fantastic. My nieces loved it. But that's, you don't, like you say, you don't think about all of these things. But out of all of this, you guys, you mentioned to me before we came on to the air, Carolina, there have been circumstances before where you, Red Cross, and partners have established other kind of mobile clinics and mobile wellness checks. And here is yet another occasion where you guys have decided to do this. And so this is the first time for this, but you guys are rolling out your mobile wellness checks for children and teens
Mhm.
at this point. What led to this decision to do these mobile wellness checks, health and wellness checks?
Well, I think it's, one of the things that obviously for all the parents who, I mean, we know the benefits of schools, like nobody's questioning the benefits of schools, but I think one of the things that, really came to a head was just the fact that the school is such a key location for so many kids. And on top of being a safe place, is also the place where kids get meals, where kids get additional support and all of that. And suddenly, with COVID-19, you're taking not just school, but everything that comes with school away from kids, And you remember in the early days of the pandemic, when we were trying to figure out what's happening, schools were closed until the end of April. And then it was like, well, they might reopen between May and June. And then suddenly it was like, no, there's really no way. So they're going to be now opening in September. So if you look at that span of time between March and September, it's going to be 6 months. And it's just like, and while people have come in and, done a tremendous job as far as making sure people have meals, especially kids who are, on meal programs and the like, we know that the counselors and teachers were overwhelmed with some of these sort of meeting basic needs. So that there is definitely something that I think that could have been done from a community perspective to try to address the physical health and mental health of our children and our teens. So the aim of this project right now, which is something that we've never done it to this level, we've used our emergency response trailer to do free HIV testing because of, we've done that with Nurse Laura quite a number of times. But this is something that's going to be completely different because now what we're doing is actually providing a physical health check, which is that a doctor is going to be on site and kind of going over some basic assessments with the kids and teens, as well as a separate truck that we're going to be using as sort of the location for a mental health assessment, where a mental health professional, a counselor, is going to be on hand to do those assessments with kids, just to kind of see, how kids are doing and where they're at, so that we can also try to get a feel for the person as a whole, and to really kind of provide that opportunity so that if there are families who are in fact in need of additional services and support, they can be put into contact, right, with those other agencies. They can provide that additional support before September.
Okay, and I'm gonna turn the questions to Cindy for a second, but I'll ask you to clarify first, Carolina. What age range are these health and wellness checks for? It
Ages
says children and
4,
teens.
4 to 17.
So 4 to 17.
Yes.
And I think that is fantastic, by the way. So Cindy, I know that your expertise is more on the mental health and wellness aspect of this, and so why some people may feel as though okay, they get why during the time of a pandemic, okay, yes, we're going to do like an actual health check, but why is the mental wellness and health aspect of it equally or even more so important, depending on who you're dealing with? Why is that so important during a time like this for children?
Well, because a lot of times with our children, with mental health, it affects their physical health, and kids have been home with their families and with their parents, and sometimes some things can end up getting. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
I get upset. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Let me. I'll allow you to deal with that for a second, and I'll ask a few more questions. Don't worry, I get it. Trust me, I think we all get it. For anyone with kids at home, Carolina, for the health checks, from a physical health component. How do people sign up for the health and wellness checks?
So we have, we're actually going to make the whole process as easy as possible. And then we're working on finalizing the specific locations within the district so that people can actually log on and book appointments directly. But we also have an email that's dedicated to this. It's health, HEALTH, health at redcross.org.ky. And we also have a dedicated phone line for this, which is courtesy of Digicel. They were able to provide us with this. And I will tell you the number is 5470918. So we know we're starting in West Bay next week. The clinics are going to run from Tuesday to Saturdays from 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. We are going to, the amount of time that we spend in each district is really going to be based on sort of population and need. So, so we'll, with the bigger districts, we're going to be there quite a bit longer than some of the smaller ones. But it's just like the aim is to move the mobile units around within the districts so that we can, as much as possible, have people access those just by, possibly walking out of their homes and walking down the street or something, or to a general location that people would normally access.
Okay, and what might it include? Because I'm sure people are going to wonder, okay, so we're going to call it the Medi truck, right? The Medi truck shows up and they're like, well, how are they going to check me? If they've never, because people are sometimes very afraid of things they don't know.
Of course.
What are some of the things that will be, kind of checked and monitored during these wellness checks?
Sure. I think the most important things that we need to say, especially to Caribbean people, is we're not juking anybody. Yeah. And it's just like there are no needles anywhere.
You kill me. Oh my God.
So no, this is going to be actually the school screening. And we're utilizing the actual school screening form, and HSA is a major partner in this. And this is actually so you would for those who kind of have kids around this age, you would know that school screening actually starts very early on, right before the summer, because there are so many kids that need to be screened, and public health will do that. So to make sure that everybody is ready for the September start date. But with all the issues created by COVID, which then also had a knock-on impact when it came to vaccinations and everything else. So a lot of the public health staff have been helping people kind of get back on vaccination schedules. So the school screening is one that unfortunately it ended up kind of getting, pushed on that. So by adopting the school screening as the main thing which we're going to be using, those kids who would require school screening will be able to actually have that done on the truck itself, and then not have to wait until after school has started to be able to get that. So that's fairly straightforward from the perspective of measuring height and weight, doing sort of the basic vision test and hearing test with the toning fork, and it's just like and the physician will be asking additional questions just in terms of basic things pertaining to that, and kind of do a very brief kind of physical check and whatnot, just to kind of see that everything is generally okay. If anything gets flagged, then they can also make the referrals directly there to HSA for additional follow-up. If there is a need for any type of samples, or for blood work or urine tests or something else, then those can also be referred out to to HSA as well. So it's not it's the same as for anyone who's done the school screening, and it's just like it's the same as that. There's nothing that could hurt. There's no nothing of that nature on there that would actually be like something that's more time consuming or thorough. Because realistically, as I mentioned before, we're trying to get to the community. We're trying to almost do this sort of, do the check-in, provide the service, and to some degree, even kind of do a bit of a triage, right? Because, with like all families aren't made up the same way, and we've all been experiencing this. It's a shared experience in a lot of ways, but we also have the things that make it very individualized to each one of us. So, you know, there are going to be people who are okay. There are going to be people who will be okay once schools open and those resources are available, and there are going to be those who are going to need some additional support before school opens, and you know, we want to make sure that they can access those before then.
Okay, which is excellent. And I think Cindy's back with us. So let me,
Sorry.
oh, trust me, I understand. It's fine. But you know, back to my original question, why is it and why did you guys find it so necessary to ensure that there was essentially a mental health and wellness check a part of this program?
So with what I was sort of trying to get to was how, you know, mental health, when children are experiencing difficulties with mental health, it's going to show up in their physical health in a lot of ways, because they don't a lot of times have the, you know, the language to share what's going on, or that they're worried or they're stressed or they're overwhelmed. And so instead, children end up getting things like stomach aches and headaches and more of the physical ailments. So with this check, it's sort of packaged in a way that, you know, you can get not only, you know, your health concerns addressed, but just kind of give the mental health a quick check as well. Because, you know, that's the other thing, is sometimes with children, we discount the idea that children could potentially have their mental health impacted. And, you know, the more we kind of say, oh, you know, it's just a phase. Oh, they're just fine. They're just tired, or they're just, you know, there's all kinds of ways we try to kind of explain away the different red flags that come up. So it's good to just, considering everything that we've all been through, we really need to, like, honestly, in my opinion, everybody needs a mental health check, including me. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's good to start with the children, because, you know, I don't know about you all, but I was thinking about it today. It's like, you know, like, when did I lose my off switch? Like, I don't have an off switch anymore. But when it comes to something for my children, or, you know, I'm there, I'll do it, whatever it takes. But then, you know, when do I check my own mental health? When do I stop to think, am I okay? And sometimes we don't. So this is also a way to get parents in to do a little bit of a check and a thought about themselves, is my thoughts.
Okay. And I think
I know it's really long.
no, but you know what is, as you very importantly mentioned, our mental health often trickles into our physical well-being as well, something we often don't account for, whether it be in children or adults. And if we're not paying close attention, or even know to be attentive to certain things with children, we don't easily recognize in the same way with them what may be signs of the fact that, like, things aren't okay from a mental health perspective. And of course, in the context of being in the Caribbean and still trying to myth bust and remind people that, you know, mental wellness, like not being completely mentally well, does not mean that you're crazy, right?
Right.
The reality is that our mental and physical health, just like how we can have like a little cold and that doesn't mean that we're dying, right? To put it plainly, we cannot be well mentally, and that does not mean that we are crazy. But we want to make sure, just the same way we want optimum functioning from the rest of our body, we should also want that for our emotional and mental well-being, right? And this coming from the non mental health professional, this is just right? But and I've told this story time and time again, and we're about to go to our first break, but I want to squeeze this in, and then I'll come back with some more questions. In university, I will never forget, in my Psych 101 class, the one conversation that changed my whole viewpoint on how I saw mental wellness, right? And mental health was, you had to get, you had to mandatory, you take Psych 101, right? You had to
Yeah.
take it. And the professor in the class kind of went through this, you know, we're taught that we get a physical checkup at least once a year, especially as women. You get that once a year, annual medical. But why aren't, our most important organ, why aren't we taught that it is equally, if not more important, to do wellness checkups on our mind, on our emotional well-being as well, right? And she was the one who spoke to the fact that in many societies we still see it as, okay, you only do it if you're feeling crazy, or you're experiencing extreme emotions. But she completely changed and transformed the way that I considered mental health and wellness, and how important it is to just make sure, like a quick tune up, like, are we okay?
Mhm.
And it is, that has been something so transformative in my life, and I will be forever be grateful for the fact that, like, she had that conversation at the start of that Psych 101 class, and it has given me a completely different perspective on what are we actually talking about when we talk about mental health and wellness. But we are going out to our first break of our time together. I have some more questions, and I'm sure the members of the audience do as well. Please keep it locked for Straight Talk. I will be back with the members of the Red Cross right after the break, talking about their mobile health and wellness checks for children and teens age 4 to 17 right after this break. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Don't touch that dial.
Join the conversation. The phone lines are now open. 943-3700. You can also find us on Facebook or email us at straighttalkci@gmail.
Bacardi presents Soca on the Beach at Coral Beach, going down this Wednesday, July 22nd from 8 p.m. featuring the biggest and baddest soca tunes from Sound Revolution and DJ Greg. Limited tickets available. General admission only $20. Cabana and bottle service packages available. Visit eventpro.ky to purchase your tickets now. No gate purchase available. Soca on the Beach at Coral Beach this Wednesday, July 22nd. Kicks off at 8 p.m. Brought to you by Bacardi, Sound Revolution, and EventPro.
Have you checked out the Island Heritage Insurance website? They have upgraded their online payment options to make it easier for you to get a quote, make a claim, and renew your policy. Log on to islandheritageinsurance.com. Island Heritage Insurance is also here for you this hurricane season with helpful tips from their Hurricane Handbook. Just log on to islandheritageinsurance.com/hurricane.
Cayman National's online banking is still the best way for you to bank, and at Cayman National, you can access your banking when you need it. Enjoy safer, easier, and discounted banking from the comfort of your home or wherever you are. Manage your everyday banking needs, such as checking account activity, paying bills, transferring funds between accounts internally and domestically, and much more. Remember, we're stronger together through our efforts to keep the Cayman community healthy.
It's hump day.
Every Wednesday and Thursday, all Rubis stations are rolling back the price on all fuel purchases by 20 cents. Every customer will save 20 cents on every gallon of fuel purchased on Wednesday and Thursday. Every customer. Only at Rubis.
Roll back.
Only at participating Rubis service stations.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Ruth Anna on Star 927.
We are back, folks, and you are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young, with you until 6 o'clock this evening, joined in studio by Miss Carolina and Cindy from the Red Cross. For those of you who are just tuning in, we are talking about their program that they are rolling out, mobile health and wellness checks for children and teens, for those ranging from age 4 to 17. That is about to kick off. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565. You can email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. And we are also streaming live video from the Star 92.7 Facebook page. So feel free to leave your questions, comments, or concerns there as well. And I will ask them and then read them to our guest in the virtual studio this afternoon. But for those who are just tuning in, Carolina, if you could just remind everyone for the mobile health and wellness checks, when do you anticipate the program starting? I have put the email and phone number in the Facebook feed, but of course, a lot of our listenership is still on the radio. So just a reminder of some of those timelines and how to reach out to you guys to potentially use this service.
Sure, of course. So we're starting next week, Tuesday, the 28th of July. It's going to run from Tuesdays through Saturdays from 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. For a total of 5 weeks. So the last day that we'll actually be on the road would be the 29th of August. And in order to get information, you can email us on health@redcross.org.ky, or you can also WhatsApp us on 547-0918. We know that we're starting in West Bay next week. We're just finalizing the locations because we want to make sure that we, have places where it's accessible, where we can park the trucks, and make sure that people are comfortable and whatnot. And I think the other thing that's important, just because obviously we're still living in times of COVID, in order to ensure that we can protect everyone, we are going to be booking people for specific times. So so then that way that we can minimize the number of people who are coming in and make sure that everybody feels very comfortable and it's very safe. And we are adhering to all of the the protocols with the physical distancing, the wearing your masks, the sanitizing hands. So I think that's just part of the norm now. So so we're going to be doing that. And and for those who still don't have masks and whatnot, we will make sure that we have some of the additional masks that we ended up getting that we're going to be making available for people who come who could use some of those reusable masks. And we'll have the disposable ones as well, and lots of garbage places so that you don't put your PP in the floor. So
that like when you said it's just become like our normal thing, I'm like, oh, like that is so true. Now I find myself like I have masks because I buy the packs of disposable masks because I just find that that's easier for me, and especially with the makeup and stuff that gets in there. And I have them tucked everywhere. I swear I have some in my hand. Like everywhere I turn, there is a mask just in case, like to make sure I don't forget in my glove box, in the back pouch of the back seat of the car. I promise you, just about every like nook and cranny between my car and in the house, there are masks everywhere. And you get to, and the other day I got to, I think the front door of a store or something, and it was kind of like a reverse move, right? A little matrix move, like, oh my God, forgot the mask. And it's like, reverse. So I was gonna ask because I'm sure people are wondering, they wondered, okay, do we have to bring our masks with us? What is going to be required? And so if someone sees your what is the proper name for the van, the mobile?
You can call it the mobile clinic, the mobile unit, the trailer, the truck.
Okay, the mobile trailer, the Batmobile.
Yeah, there you go.
What, like, let's say someone just sees you and shows up at the van, if there is availability, will you accept them in for an appointment, or they have to make an appointment?
No, we will. If there is availability, of course. What we're trying to do really and truly is, you have all of these professionals who are, because and this is the other really important thing, it's just like, I come up with an idea, but really and truly, the only way that it comes to fruition is because we have professionals like Cindy in the Wellness Center and the FRC and HSA and, On Course Cayman, and it's just like in all of these people who are coming forward and saying, yes, we can volunteer our times and expertise to be able to do this for the community. So, so if we're going to have so many people who are willing to go to these places, who are going to put up with me for an additional 5 weeks of calling them and trying to figure out what we're doing and, kind of setting this up. We want people to go and utilize the service because, and it's just like, and it's equally as important for you who are just like, let's get it checked. And yep, it's fine. You're in perfect health or things are okay and whatnot. It's good for you to have that reassurance and for you to know. And it's as important to have that documented as it is if something is not 100%, So it's just one of those things. And we want people. So yes, please come up to the truck anyway. If there is room, we will accommodate. If there isn't, we'll let you know where our next stop is. And maybe you can meet us there the following day because we will be in the district, especially the 3 larger districts. We'll be there for quite a number of days, just moving from spot to spot. So, so if you can't catch us right there at your corner, maybe just, walk we don't have blocks, but it's just like
You might be
walk
around
down.
the corner next to the corner store.
There you go. The corner store somewhere.
And this may go without saying for some, but I want to make this explicitly clear. Is there a cost for these checks?
I love that question. No, it's the favorite 4-letter word. It's free. So, it's free. It's the best. And the reason, that we're able to do this is because we have the support from the professionals, and it's because we have support from Help for Children that also, will help us cover the cost of, gasoline and everything else to get us over there. So, and this is why we want people to come out, because one of the things that happens in Cayman is that, when there's like, you have these things that people put out that everyone thinks, oh, it's a good idea. It's like, well, how do we mitigate against accessibility and other issues? So people kind of put thought into it and it gets out there. And then because the community doesn't embrace it and it doesn't get used and whatnot, and then it becomes, well, how do you justify the cost, the time, the investment and everything else to go and do it again? And, so I think it's one of those things that, and we try to put it at a time. I know it's not convenient now that we have all been sort of freed from our homes, right? This would have been much easier to do when we were in lockdown and there was nowhere else for people to go. But again, there were other pressing things that were happening there. But it's just like 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the time in which either people can get home or they will be home. And, and if you're just taking some time to walk down and get this done, especially if you have those school-age kids who are going to need to have those school screenings anyway, then it will hopefully be an incentive enough for people to come out.
Okay, and to you, Cindy, for parents, guardians, older sisters, older siblings, should I say, that may be wondering, should I take my kid, my nephew, my niece, otherwise, in for one of these checks, and say, well, everything seems fine. They seem fine. What would your advice be to them?
We all seem fine.
This is why I love you both. This is why I love you both. Okay.
If that's one thing I can add to the conversation, like we all seem fine and we're not fine.
But
none of us are fine because we're going through so much and we're all going through it together. So it's, even if it's just an idea, it's just, like you said, I think you said it a few minutes ago, Ruthanna, about, just get it checked. It's like, if it's not a problem, then it's not a problem. If it's good to get it checked just in case. And there's so many, a bunch of partners coming together to provide this, but there's also opportunity to be referred to other programs if you need, there's the early intervention program, which caters to younger children. So it's just an opportunity for everybody to be connected with other resources for whatever their needs may be.
Awesome. And I think I wish I could, there was a bulletin board that we could put that up somewhere, because I think that's the key, right? We all seem fine. And
we're all fine.
Yeah, we're good. That's like my 3-year-old niece. Like she has, and that's what I thought of when you said it, right? She's a tough kid. She is, but she'll fall and she'll jump up and she's like, I'm okay. And you're looking at her and you just fell and really hit your knee, or you hit but it's one of those things where she's trying to be, she's like, I'm okay. And I feel like many of us are in that kind of mode, right? And the reality is we may feel fine because we have adapted to some of what is going on, but the adaptation may really not be our normal self, right?
Yeah.
And I think about that. I know that for me, I certainly became more fine when we could semi-socialize again, because I am an incredible extrovert, and so all of this separation was difficult. It was especially with my family and even just seeing the regular interaction with people, and being in the grocery store and trying to keep up. Even now, just not hugging and these elbow bumps and stuff is spazzing me out, but you do what you have to do. But we've all had these different experiences through this time. And I know that, we are and should be grateful for the fact that we have fared generally very well through all of this. But for some people, it is the isolation.
Mhm.
I know that my sister has, especially her son, who is like that. And I know I've told the story on air already. And he doesn't mind. He actually enjoys when I talk about him because important nephew. And I remember when he started to go through that phase of kind of not understanding why he couldn't see his friends and why they couldn't come over, and why and the extreme agitation around that, and no matter, because depending on the age of the child, no matter how you explain certain things, right, it's still incredibly difficult. Still
It is.
incredibly difficult.
Yeah. My experience with that, Rosanna, was, so my son is 8, and he actually would fall within the group that's more vulnerable, right? Because COVID is something that would be a real threat to him. And obviously, I have my parents who are older, so we're looking out for that. So I was the person who was kind of going into the world and then coming back and all of those things. And while we were generally okay, like he's seemed to fare fairly well with the online learning and kind of doing things and talking to friends. Obviously, at this point, screen time has been something that's not the hill that I'm going to die on. And it's just like it's just you adapt and you kind of figure it out. And then as we're slowly, reopening, and we get the beach back, and then we can go out and it's warm enough and all. And then when it starts to loosen, where we're like, okay, well, maybe we can discuss how we create a social bubble with another one of your friends so that we can start actually playing with another kid. Because this is a kid who hasn't seen and played with another kid for over 4 months, right? So it's just like, so that we're going to do that. So it's like, well, how do you feel about that? And obviously I'm thinking like, okay, this kid is going to be excited. He gets to see a friend and whatnot. It went the exact wrong other way, because it became this issue, which is like, how do you make me choose which one friend I can go to? Like, how do you, I don't want to have to choose one friend. Like, this isn't no, and this is where the I'm fine just completely dissolved. And it was like, and here I'm thinking that this is going to be something where, yes, it's like we have that interaction, we can do that and whatnot. But then it became almost this much bigger thing than I would have thought, which is, how do you choose? Which friend do you start with? Which friend do you get to see when you're missing all of these people, right? And it's just like, and all that comes behind that, So the happy ending to the story is that we did eventually link up with a friend who was equally as bubbled as we were, and that was good. So it wasn't, but it was almost like I shouldn't have given him the opportunity to be consider that decision, because then it was no longer about sort of, oh, let's talk about this and whatnot, but it would have rather just been, okay, we're going to meet up with this person, So sometimes even for us, and it's just like with all the tools that we have and everything else, we still get it wrong, because we don't really know how kids are going to take things until they take them, So
and they dish them out, right?
Oh yes.
Yes.
As you were talking, one of the things that one of the experiences that I thought about, that I, for me personally, when I was going through this, so I have a toddler, right? Now, in the start of all of this, I guess she would have been 14 months, 15 months, right? Because we've been going through this for months now, and she's 18 months. And the mom kind of meltdown that I used to have was because, of course, when I was the grocery store runner, I was still coming out to the radio. I was still doing all of those things. And, I was helping do deliveries for ARC and their Kindness Kitchen. And so I would try to be sure, the minute I stepped through the door, I would head straight for the bathroom to take a shower and to take off all the clothes I'd worn outside. But as a toddler, mom's been gone, because the grocery store was a right. That was never a swift situation, even if it was just the grocery store. And when you have a toddler, because of what was going on, there had to be, like, sometimes there was 3 and 4 grocery stores, because you had certain things that were out at certain places. And when you get home, she wanted to cling to mommy and she and trying to even navigate the like, no, 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 mommy's coming. And then she has a breakdown because what she wants is the hug and the lift her up and all that kind of stuff. And then so you have like the whole mommy, like, oh my God, like, that whole like, I'm glad to be over that part of it. Because now she's 4 months in and I can go through the door and she says, bye-bye. She's like, okay, I got this iPad. Or and equally she understands over 4 months in their life means a lot, and be like, no, stay with daddy, or no, stay with Auntie Stacy. But those first few months were really, really tough, with that experience. And so there are different things that, whether we as adults or the children around us, the things that they have experienced and are experiencing, that we have really no idea sometimes the effect that it has, whether it be on us or on them, right? And so I think I am so grateful that you guys are rolling out this program. I know when you contacted me, Carolina, to ask if there was space on the show this week, and when you sent it to me, I said, this is awesome. Right? I was like, I'm so happy that you are doing this, especially because it was not just a physical check for our kids. You're trying to hit all sides of the person, the whole human being. You're kind of whipping out the whole army, right? The whole health and wellness army to say, okay, let's check all aspects, the whole human in this, and our little ones, right? Now, what suggestion would you give? Now, 16, 17, that can be a tough age. They can be kind of stubborn. They can be kind of, resistant. And what would you say to them directly? Because chances are, if a 16 or 17-year-old is coming for one of these health and wellness checks, it is likely that they've probably said okay on their own to coming to it. It's a little bit harder to drag them kicking and screaming. A 4, 5, 6-year-old, you can say, okay, follow mommy. You get into the teenage years and you're like, oh, I'm fine. You do the thing my niece did. I'm okay. What would you say to the teenagers who are listening, because certainly a significant number of them listening in the afternoon on Star, but what would you say to them as to why they should come in for one of these health and wellness checks?
Well, I've actually been pushing for an adolescent health clinic for the better part of 15 years, because I strongly believe that adolescents need to be empowered to take ownership of their own health. And one of the things that that we're doing with the professionals who are here in terms of being on board is that once you turn 16, you actually can access services. And so this is going to be something where you can go in there and you can ask your questions and you can have that patient-doctor confidentiality, that so many people crave, and you can ask questions about things that are relevant to you as an adolescent, and it's just like, so the great thing about working with all of these professionals is just that, just like they're there to provide a professional service. They're not there to pass judgment on you. They're not there to try to, decide you to change your mind to do or not do something, right? So so this is a place where, sure, COVID may have been the sort of the kickstart of this, and we're looking at this from the lens of the pandemic, but there are other things that you're dealing with as an adolescent that doesn't go away, and it's just like, so whether you're thinking about, the general, if you're in your late teens and you're actually in a relationship or thinking about going in a relationship, if you have those questions about sex and sexuality and all of those things, which are all teenagers do and which adults even do and don't talk to anybody about, So here are some people that you can speak to about this, if you have trying to figure out about what's the correct time for you to have certain sort of more extensive checkups done, and it's just like, if you're wondering about things like birth control, or if you're being bullied and you actually need somebody to speak to, because now, with all of the issues that we have with the lack of sort of safeguarding when it comes to bullying in these virtual environments, and school and communications have gone almost completely virtual, for a lot of people. So here's your safe space for you to, as a young person who is not quite an adult, but no longer really a child, to be able to have those conversations with someone who's there to help you and to put your needs first. And it's just so I think it's one of those things where no one can do these things for you. And what we're trying to do is definitely give you the opportunities and options that you're going to need to take ownership of your health. So, and again, once you're 16, you can actually book your appointment directly. So,
I want to make that abundantly clear. So if they are 16 or like if they're 16 and 17, they can, if they want to come in for a health and wellness check, they can do that on their own.
They can, yes, yeah. And we're also, and just to be clear, it's, if you just turned 18 or if you're an 18-year-old or turning 19 and whatnot, and you really want to do this, our aim is not to, to push people away. Because I mean, this decision of when it is that you become an adult, it's, why 18 or why not 21, why not 37? I mean, it's just like, it becomes sort of arbitrary, right? So once you're in your teens, and it's just like, and you feel, I can really benefit from this and whatnot, then by all means, send an email, send, a WhatsApp and whatnot, and it's like, we will work with you. But definitely, I think, our teen population is one that could really benefit from these types of interventions and whatnot. And everything is confidential, and and it's just like we'll use from the assessment perspective and whatnot. That is your personal information, and the doctors will go over everything with you. As to obviously, there are certain things in which can't be kept confidential, which are the things in terms of harm to self, harm to others, or just like a potential abuse, because then for those who are under the age of 18. So there are certain things like that, but for the most part, it's like those conversations that you might always have wanted to have, but haven't had the opportunity to. Come, people are there to listen and speak to that.
That is,
and it's free.
Awesome. FRE. And as we wind down to 6 o'clock, I will ask both of you to give final thoughts and reminders this afternoon, just to the listening public. Any final thoughts from you, Cindy?
Just that I really encourage everyone to come out and just take your health seriously. Your mental health is the same as your physical health. It's something that it needs to be taken seriously. It needs to, even if you're not quite sure, you think, oh yeah, I am, maybe I think I'm coping quite well. It's always good just to go out and even support somebody else that might need a checkup, either physical or mental. And it's all, we have to look at our entire being from all the different perspectives. So if, even if something that you're not sleeping right, you're not feeling well, you're low energy, we've all experienced a certain level of anxiety throughout this process. So, perhaps anybody that's thinking, oh, it might be good to just kind of get it checked, see how I'm coping, see where I go from here. So just want to encourage everyone to, make yourself a priority and get yourself checked out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy. Final thoughts and reminders from you, Carolina.
Just in terms of, kind of piggybacking on what Cindy is saying, and it's just like, we have the focusing on the child, the adolescent, and obviously we'll be, looking at the family as a whole. So we'll be talking to parents and guardians as well. And along with providing that individual support to those who need it. The other aspect of this project too, which is going to be great for the community, is because as we start to gather a bit more data, especially from the perspective of looking at some of the responses that are given, if there are things that are coming up, we're going to have a pretty good sample size. If things are coming up repeatedly, then that will actually help to shape the way in which schools, communities, and even on a national level, that programs are done or interventions are run. So, and it's just like the aim is help the individual, but then as these individuals kind of come together, we'll paint a picture as to where we might be as a country and what might be necessary. Because, obviously, food security was front of mind for everyone, because that's something that's very tangible. That's something that, you can see, that's something that people need, that's a basic need. But these are the kinds of things that end up kind of, hiding behind closed doors, or, within people who don't necessarily talk or don't have the ability to express themselves because of age. So it makes people highly vulnerable. So if we do think that as a community, we should have this additional support for mental health services and for these types of interventions and stuff, the more people that are coming out and utilizing it, the better case it is that we're going to be making it for something that they can be reaching the community. So health@redcross.org.ky, and the phone number is 547. Oh, wait. How did I forget the phone number? Hold on. This is what happens.
0918.
0918. Thank you. I haven't committed it to memory yet, so always I hear it going off though, and it's just like, which is good.
That is fine. But please, ladies, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Please keep me posted on, so I can help share information in terms of where is the Batmobile, the health Batmobile. Is going to be roaming around and doing these health checks for children and teens so that I can help disseminate that information. I appreciate you both. Good to do a check-in with you this afternoon and to learn about this new initiative. Guys, we're about to turn the dials to 6 o'clock this evening, which means I'm about to be out of here. Tomorrow, I will have a full hour for you. First, I will be joined by MLA for Georgetown Central, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, for a quick segment from 5 o'clock. And then I am going to be joined by Mr. Eden Hurlston, and we're going to have a conversation about how the Black Lives Matter movement applies to the Cayman Islands, some of his own life experiences, of course, growing up in spending many years in the U.S. and, now here back at home. So we'll have a full discussion tomorrow afternoon from 5 to 6 on Star 92.7. Ladies, I appreciate you. It is 6 o'clock on the button, so I will be back again tomorrow at 5 o'clock sharp for some straight talk on Star 92.7.
Press, 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 press.